Yo, what's going up, man? How's it going? Pretty good. Can't complain. What's going on? Welcome to the stream, guys. I'm just sticking around, not really playing anything in particular. Nice, nice. Air. Yo, throw some likes on there, guys. Appreciate you stopping by. Actually, just did 2 hours of streaming prior to this. Yeah, that's cool, man. Small streamers. I don't really stream a whole lot. I love that energy. It tickles my spirit, knowing how long it's going to take you to succeed. Thank you, Jay Anderson. What's your pink tip look like, buddy? Mmm. That was cryptic. Pink tip and a foreskin. It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, I'll tell you this. The channel has over 300,000 views in less than 6 months. It's not bad. Pink tip foreskin or not, that is crazy as well. It's a crazy chat, my friends. Painted what? Bro, throw one up, man. Throw those likes up there. And get elevated if you ain't already. Keep the stream wild. Let's keep it going. Jay, where'd you go? Don't run away in the comments. I want to see. I want to see the chat be crazy. That's what this is here for. This is what human interaction's all about. Demons are just future humans trapped in a different membrane of our reality due to a failed attempt at crossing through a wormhole. Yes, that is what I'm talking about. $35 people. Oh yeah, here we go. Chicken grease all over the screen. That is, I had chicken for dinner. They could be chicken grease. They could definitely be chicken grease. That could absolutely be chicken grease. Hey man, that demon wormhole talk, it's pretty crazy. I like that. I'm all about some wormholes and, yeah, maybe not the demons, but definitely some wormholes. To other places. There we go. Now, what was this Jill lady saying? It blows my mind that 35 people are our live all night and Doesn't make any sense. Is she a babe? I did read recently that they're beginning to think that our universe is actually residing inside of a black hole, which is pretty bananas. One sec. I have thought this for years. Little microfiber cloth action. Oh, he left. That's sick. Owen, can you be the mod? Anybody can be the mod. Did you subscribe? You gotta hit that subscribe button. Boom. More like a simulation than an original universe. Ah. Alright, Owen. But listen. Don't be putting people in timeout. You do it only with permission. Aha. This is a pretty good string. It's crazy how you have to have like more devices than the one to stream properly. Going pretty good. No complaints. You know, I'm interested to think about what we're going to achieve in our lifetimes, right? What we're going to see. Because we're not going to see that much. If you think about yourself, even compared to like a tree, we don't even have a lifespan that's as long as some of the even second or third tier rated trees on Earth. And so a lot of what we're doing is going to be about leaving a legacy of humanity for somebody else to find. Because as much as I love to think that we have some kind of alien tech and that the Tic Tacs that they have found, the FLIR, and these Navy guys are like, we don't know what these things are. I would love to believe 100% that there are other powers at work here, that there are some kind of supernatural beings. But the fact of the matter is that the universe is a very old place. The Milky Way is a very, very old place, and we are very young in terms of where we are in the universe. And so, you know, so, where is the line there? Because we're not going to see it in our lifetimes. Probably not in our kids' lifetimes. And if we do see it, we won't see it for civilian use. It will never be seen for civilian use. It's more or less going to be military, technological, tech bros are going to have the ability to do this stuff, but civilians won't. Not for a very long time. So whether it's wormholes, whether it's, we're living inside of a black hole, whether these aliens are interdimensional beings that have showed up, here on Earth, but they're not like making, the people in Las Vegas that thought that they had a ship land in their backyard. Nobody's been able to verify a goddamn thing. So nobody knows there, what is, are we truthfully supposed to sit here and believe? Yeah, and it hasn't been 80 years since the internet. The internet was the real largest leap that we've seen in our lifetimes. Something else is coming very soon, but what do we have? We have electric cars, and people kind of hate them, kind of love them, depending on who you are, where you are. They're not affordable by any means. We're getting past technologically by the internet was definitely the largest leap. The radio is great, but communications have gone mostly digital, relying on satellites. Even satellite phones. So you'd have to have a really big antenna for a lot of radios. The connecting people to information at the palm of their hands. 20 years ago, the quality of this crappy stream would have been unfathomable, right? 20 years ago. 20 years before that, nobody would have thought that you could take a computer, ever, the size of one, and put it into a tablet, which is, I'm streaming this on a tablet, that you could put it into a smartphone, okay? Nobody thought that you would ever achieve anything like that. So the ability to put information at people's fingertips has been the biggest technological leap, in my opinion. And it has consumed society. You all are probably watching this on your phones right now. I'm doing this with a phone in my hand, looking into a screen, and that's what our society has become. Now, the emergence of AI, we're probably going to see some more technological, 200 years ago, people traveled a long way, still. Abraham Lincoln, for example, his family traveled hundreds and hundreds of miles before they settled, where they truly settled, and then half of them died after settling there. So people definitely would go, they were poor. It wasn't like they were rich. They were poor. People would move because they had to, because there were land disputes, there were, You didn't have the resources. Your farms would go belly up. You piss off somebody in the town. You get run out of town by a mob. Times were not cool on the frontier. From Kentucky to Indiana, in 1842, Indiana was still very much considered the frontier. Not many people had made it all the way out there yet. 49ers. People really started heading to California in the late 40s, trying to head out west because things were drying up. There's not a lot of great stuff you can do in that mid-Atlantic region. That's why nowadays it's a big industrial hub. Anyways, I don't remember where we were going there, but with the technology, right? So in 20 more years, where will this go? Because people thought in the 80s that you're going to have flying cars in the 2000s. They really did. Steven Spielberg, when he was making Back to the Future, legitimately thought, like, hey, in the 2000s, they're good. In the 2020s, they're going to have flying cars, okay? We don't. You don't have to, because you already have imperfect but functional transportation via air, land, and sea. There's no reason to make cars fly. Oh, we're chatting, Rip. We're chatting. Thanks for coming back, Rip. So it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be deeper information. It's going to be information even faster than the tip of your fingers. Okay? That's why Elon Musk, okay? That's why Sam Altman, who has shied away from saying it, but Peter Thiel also. All these tech bro guys who are quite possibly the like doom bringers of humanity. They are the ones that want to get the data, the information to you and from you at an instant. That's what these chip things in the back of people's heads are about. It's not about making people walk again. That's the whole ploy. Like, they put it in that one guy. He was like paralyzed, and then they reconnected his stuff via some chips, that Neuralink, and he regained some like movement and motion and whatnot in his legs. But that's not what it's there for everyday use. The everyday use is that flight, helicopter still has to abide by like aviation rules though. Like a car can't, a helicopter can't just go wherever it wants to go. It has to have a clear, it has to have a space of altitude to work with. So where is that technology in 20 years? Is it going to be getting data from us? Because then you're getting into some kind of weird Matrix vibe, which is really out there. You're getting into some vibe of our data feeding a blockchain, right? I've seen this laid out. The same way that they mine Bitcoin, they can use the data and information in your brains You can't make cars fly with magnets. You can make like a tramway, but the magnets still have to have a way of propulsion and slowing down. Now, like maglev trains are real. Those are magnetically drawn there, but they're still like hanging on to essentially a railing in case it comes flying off the rails. By the way, hypertrains, pretty cool. Magnet stuff, pretty cool. Magnets can launch like bullets and projectiles really far, like a what's that? Like a particle cannon or whatever. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm also terrified by it. A couple of things that I'm super excited for coming up in the next, I would say, 20. Nope, it's going to be about 8 years total for this to happen. So, there's a comet that's approaching Earth called Apophis. And Apophis is going to make its really, really, really close approach to us in 2029. It's going to pass beneath our communication satellites, okay? So, I don't know if you've ever looked up and seen Starlink or looked up and seen the space station, right? The space station, it's like 100 and some odd miles up in the atmosphere, just barely up there, right? And it's just kind of hanging out. Well, there's communication satellites way further out past that. Like, communication satellites can be a couple 100 miles out, right? This asteroid comet is going to pass below the communication satellites. It's going to be visible in the night sky for months while it approaches us. For some parts of the world, you're going to be able to see it for months as an object coming in the sky. And when it enters our gravitational field, there's an area that it must pass, right? And they're calling it a keyhole. And I'm going to do a little motion here, right? They say if it passes through that keyhole, we will affect the gravity of it and the trajectory of it, so that when it comes back around in 3 years, that it's going to hit somewhere in the ocean. And it's a pretty big comet. It's not a, and I find that to be, marginally terrifying, but also, like, if I had to pick a way to go, I think asteroid impact would be number one on the list. Yeah. Somebody, what else we got? Owen, are you still here moderating? Cosmic death. Hot, deadly rays of the sun. Just making sure you were still here as moderator. Yeah, I think about that all the time, man. The right solar flare, the right one, could wipe out communication satellites worldwide. Complete blackout. Alright, buddy. Thank you for being the moderator. Thank you for subscribing. I'll make you the moderator next time you're on a stream. Keep it up. So, good night, buddy. I think that the Carrington event, which happened in 1890 something, may have happened before then. That was the closest that, if that event had happened today, it would have knocked out electrical grids nationwide. Imagine a world that you wake up in tomorrow where you can't pump gas, you can't pay for your groceries because the registers are locked up and they're electronic, Sure, you might have keys, but does everybody have cash? Can you go to the ATM? ATMs are, there's nobody at the bank. All the power's out. Stoplights don't work. Stuff like that. We're not even talking about the fact that the internet wouldn't even be working for people to figure out what happened. You would have to rely on information from your neighbors, which, by the way, don't know if you have neighbors. A lot of people don't know their neighbors very well at all anymore because we're self-isolated. Um, yeah, I think that that would be the most devastating thing outside of a major EMP event. Oh yeah, global blackout would be wild. Some people are marginally prepared. I am marginally prepared for something like that. Not by like any kind of crazy means, but I'll certainly survive a couple of months for sure. I'll definitely have to like loot for vape pods or like barter for vape pods, like trade like meat. Yeah, global blackout. That would be the craziest event that we might be able to experience. The sun is kind of going into its 10-year cycle, where it's going to be highly active for a very long time. Ugh. And that's not something that fixes itself overnight. It's one of those things that lasts for a long time. When it happened during the Carrington event, the electrical lines exploded and people were still able to send telegrams because of the amount of electrical current that was in the air. Okay? That's how things worked back then. Nothing nowadays works like that. You know, your television doesn't have an antenna that could somehow pick up enough electricity to reverse inside of itself and power itself. It doesn't work like that. So, I mean, the moment people can't buy gas and the moment people can't use Facebook or at least Google, it's over, you know? And there's not a plan, there's not a backup plan for any of that. There's no city that has like a citywide generator that's underground that would be, you know, impervious to some kind of a giant EMP event, including some kind of a solar flare or a giant chrome mass ejection. And we get missed by these things so often. Like, we get missed by huge blasts of radiation. Huge blasts of radiation. Not to mention if a star close enough to us was to just mysteriously, boom, and it goes, that could send shockwaves across the entire Milky Way. Starting to get tired. All the fun. I've gained a lot of subscribers tonight. This has been a great stream. Well, if oxygen is not plentiful, then you need to get low. You need to get somewhere where there's a lot of plants. Primordial Earth did not have a lot of plants. I'm gonna get this drink. So, with what's just on me, if I woke up tomorrow, nothing in my pockets, blue jeans, 76 million years ago, there's still dinosaurs hanging out. Doesn't fare well for a naked guy not covered in really thick hair. You know? You're gonna freeze to death within a day. 2 days tops. If I got some clothes on, I'm fine. If I went to sleep with a knife in my pocket, I'm even better. Would prefer a Snickers bar. but the knife would work. If I could take a backpack, like a large backpack, with what I could carry, I still like my odds, even in a less oxygenated Earth. By the way, most of what you breathe is not oxygen. It's only about 18% or something crazy like that. It's mostly nitrogen in the air. Mostly nitrogen. Oh, I would have to start humanity sooner somehow. I'd have to find a mateable dinosaur. That's not going to be fun. It's going to be painful. It's going to be for science, so legal. There's no governing body to tell me I can't. So if you go back 76 million years ago, you definitely got to try to start humanity with like dinosaur humans. That's pretty tight. And then the regular humans come up, and then I'm like, hey, gotta survive that comet. If I know of the comet, the asteroid that's gonna kill the dinosaurs, could I somehow? Ooh, that's a good thought experiment. I've got millions of years. I've got to figure out how to live forever first. So you have to live forever now. Go back in time. I think I'd like to go for a sloth type. It's been a sloth type for the most human-esque dinosaur primordial creature you could find. Well, they better figure out how to, get with some human males. Yeah, honestly, if I woke up tomorrow 76 million years ago, I would enjoy the one day that I would make it before I died. Before I tried to wipe my ass with a leaf that gave me a rash I couldn't cure. And died 3 days later, horribly in pain. It makes me think about really my favorite story of all time, maybe. Because it's a story of drive and of wanton stupidity. It's a story of Christopher McCandless, who they made a movie about. There was a book written. Sorry, audio's going crazy. Well, there was a book written. A movie made about this guy. And he was going to law, he was about to go to law school, just graduated, either high school, maybe it was college, maybe he just has an associate's degree. And he decides that this life that he's living is just not the life that he wants to live. He wants to go be an outdoorsman, right? And this is happening in the 80s, I want to say, maybe the late 70s, early 80s. Oh man. Is that any better? Audio check. Okay, cool. Anywho, Christopher McCandless, he decides he's going to go out to Alaska. Okay, he lives somewhere on the East Coast. He ditches his car in Montana. He works at a farm for a little while for a summer to make a little bit of money. Then he hitchhikes north. And he hitchhikes up through Canada. And on the final stretch of this hitchhike, he runs into a fellow who urges him, like, don't go into the Alaskan bush by yourself. You're not prepared. You have a book, a small survival guide. You don't know what you're doing. You're not even dressed for it. So the man insists on buying him. He said, I will buy you all the gear right now. I'll give you all the gear that you could ask for. And if you allow me to come check on you, or if you come check in. The only thing he allows him to do is to purchase him a pair of waterproof rubber boots. Okay? And he also sent him off with a bag of sandwiches. Like, I believe the man said it was like 6 sandwiches. And so McCandless treks off onto this trail, right? This old gold prospecting trail from years and years past. And it's not the worst time of year yet, but it's going to get really bad really quickly. McCandless crosses a river, okay? He crosses a river via a hand bridge, little crank hand bridge. And it was there for the public to use. He crosses over it, and he finds a bus, and he decides that he's going to take up refuge in this bus. The bus had been kind of abandoned and had a wood stove in it. And he has like a small sack of food with him. He had the sandwiches. He's probably already eaten them. And he had brought like a small amount of like provisions, with him. He also took a rifle with him. He took a .22 rifle with him and was doing pretty successful shooting like rabbits, stuff like that. But you can't live on rabbits. You can't. You'll eventually go. You'll starve. It's called rabbit starvation. There's not enough fat. So he decides at some point he's going to have to kill a moose. And he, in his own journal, writes that he had to shoot the moose essentially 17 times with that .22 to kill it. And it's this huge victory for him because here he is, he's in the Alaskan bush, and he's got a moose, this big whole moose. It's enough meat to last him all winter. Now he has another problem. How do you store it? Okay. Well, he decides that he can smoke the meat, and he builds a makeshift smokehouse. He has a fire going. By the way, he's still running against the clock, okay? Because the summer is about to end in Alaska. It's about to snow. It's about to get very cold. Unfortunately, he does not smoke his meat properly, and almost all of it, when he comes back to check it, has begun to rot, and it's maggot filled. It's worthless, and so he spent all this time killing this moose, smoking it, trying extremely hard to make sure that he was going to have a food supply for the winter. He doesn't get it. So he then has to start relying on foraging. Okay? So part of the handbook that he took with him had what plants you could and couldn't eat in the region. And he mistook a potato plant for another. And he began eating the seeds of this potato plant. He would dig it up. He was eating them. It caused him a horrible, horrible food poisoning. And what these seeds do when they poison humans They lock up your GI tract. Nothing can pass through. So everything that you eat. Hello, honey. Can I get a kiss? Had a pretty active stream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hi guys.
Yeah. Very active stream. So, anyways, Christopher Candless eats this poisonous potato root, then proceeds to starve to death because nothing could pass through his lower intestine. Everything was being rejected, so every time he would eat, he would throw up. He couldn't even shit himself because nothing could pass through. Um, it was a horrifyingly painful death for him. Once he realized he was in trouble, he tried to make his way back to the hand bridge. But snow had fallen, covering most of the landscape. His bearings were not there, and they estimate that he was less than a mile away from the hand bridge. He couldn't find it, and they estimate that he was about a mile away from it. He wouldn't have been able to have used it anywho. It would have been impassable by this time of year due to the water levels. It's unfortunate, and it's a lesson in not going into something blind, because he had a wild dream. He wanted to be this kind of free youth and self-sustaining. There's a lot of people out there that are like that, but a lot of these people don't have the reasonable aspect of looking at it, you know? So if you're going to do something like that, you have to take enough food to survive for several months before you can learn how to fend on yourself. Fend on your own. But yeah, that's the story of Into the Wild. It's a great, it's a good film. If you like Emile Hirsch, really great film. But the story itself is very sad. And unfortunately, a lot of people really romanticize with that story. And they'll read the book. That's where you make the people make the big mistake of reading the book and then thinking, wow, this is like, you know, what they don't tell you in the book, and this came out years later, is that the kid had a horrible home life. His father was leading a double life with another family, had another family in the same town, had been leading a double life for years, like had children, grown children, not grown, but children of an age, with another family, and his whole family was devastated, and they were kind of well off, and they tried to play it off like it wasn't happening, and there was like a lot of abuse to Chris and his sister, and once the news was broken, he left and went to be with the other family. The father did. So, and the movie doesn't really go into those things. There was extremely kind of this person whose trust in humanity was broken. Essentially, was like, I have to go and find myself off in the wild. Now, had he done it somewhere in the middle of America, probably would have been just fine. But he decided to trek about as far away from civilization and resources as one can get. Alaska's not a place for him. I mean, I myself wouldn't feel comfortable even camping in Alaska without thousands of dollars worth of gear. Brutal country. Well, I appreciate the views. I'm glad that you subscribed. I'm going to end the stream now. Might be back on later, but I will be doing this quite often. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. Thanks for the likes. And catch you next time.